old Nintendo gamer.
And son.
On to our recent games, and Greg, you're going to start us off by moving away from the Switch again this week.
I don't want to talk about it too much because I did actually talk about it a little bit a few weeks ago. It's Astro's Playroom on the PS5, and the reason I want to talk about it again is because previously I spoke about it because my brother had picked up the PS5 on launch and was excited to go and try out the new DualSense controller, and Astro was the perfect opportunity to play it, and I only really got to try it out for 5 or 10 minutes at his house. Since then, I have been able to get a PS5 of my own. Quite unexpectedly, it's kind of a spur of the moment thing. I was kind of expecting to wait till next year and maybe get the digital one for £359, but got a wee email code from BT, and was able to pick up. They only had the disc version in stock, and I thought, right, I'll go for it. I can always change my mind, and the reason I'd be able to change my mind quite badly is because I knew CEX, for their sins, were offering people £650 to part with their PS5 in the run up to Christmas, and then selling it on for over £800.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. And while I knew that was a safety net, I know in my heart that I would have felt guilty effectively ruining someone else's Christmas, or a poor parent having to spend that sort of money just so they don't have a disappointed child on Christmas. Even so, the child is going to be disappointed because I had the PS5 anyway, because I'm keeping it. I made that decision this week, but it has given me the opportunity to play through most of Astro's Playroom, and the reason I haven't played through all of it yet is because I did make that decision while I was playing it that I was going to keep the PS5, in which case there wasn't as much urgency to actually finish the game off. Not that it's that long anyway, but yeah, it's a wonderful game. To me, it is probably the most Nintendo-like game I have ever played that isn't from Nintendo. I'm not sure if that's high praise or not, because obviously other companies maybe haven't ever been able to sort of capture that magic that we've grown up with Nintendo, but this is close in so many ways. The controller is just a huge part of that experience. The game itself, there isn't all that much to do. It's a sort of a platformer effectively, but it's more of a celebration of PlayStation rather than this intricate difficult Mario platform or anything. And that's what I expected it to be, but the way it touches on lots of PlayStation things that maybe if you haven't played any PlayStation really over the years, you'll not be familiar with it, but all the nice wee touches of for example, you'll walk into a room and there'll be a wee cardboard box quivering, and you hit it and then it makes the Metal Gear Solid sound, the alert sound, and there's a guy underneath, and there's all these things sort of dotted all over the map, of just nods to all these different PlayStation games, or games that at least came out on the PlayStation. There's one for Death Stranding, for example. I've seen a character walking around with the big backpack on. It's very cool. And actually, there's 4 main levels in the game, and they're all dedicated to each generation of PlayStation. So obviously PS1 through to PS4, and through that there'll be a few wee sort of collectibles that will go into a room. I think it's actually called PlayStation Labo, the name of the room, which is maybe another nod to something that isn't PlayStation, but so there'll be wee things you pick up as 3D models of things. So it'll be a PlayStation 3, DualShock 3 or something, or the Move controller, for example, and then they all go in the room. But whenever you collect them in the level, you can sort of rotate the controller around and have a good look at them, and they're all pretty cool. It's what it is. But yeah, it's just like I say, it's just an absolute celebration. And each level has different things that you do in them. So standard, you'll be like running around as Astrobot and like jumping around, and like as you'll have heard many times in the past, like the feeling of things is completely different depending on what surface you're on, and that's all enhanced by like the rumble in the controller, and like the sounds that come from the controller as well, all really adds to this sort of like immersive experience. And there's like one level, for example, where you put like your umbrella up. He puts his umbrella up, and like there's rain falling down, and you feel that rain in the controller. It's like, it's a tough thing to sort of talk about without really experiencing it for yourself. Like, it's just one of them things. It's like, oh, this does feel amazing. Like, this does feel next generation. It's definitely a step up from the Switch's HD rumble. But yeah, like, I can't really say enough good things really about the controller, because I think I mentioned in the podcast a few weeks ago, like the bit I did try at my brother's was like a sort of spring-loaded thing where you pull down the on the resistive triggers, and you feel that spring sort of loading up and letting go. But there's other levels where like you maybe like you jump in, you sort of go into like this other sort of bigger robot thing and zip yourself up into it, and it's like you're using the triggers to like grab on to, it's like a climbing wall really, so you're climbing onto the rocks, and like you sort of alternate the triggers and sort of tilt the controller to pull yourself up, and I mean that feels pretty cool. And then there's some rocks that are maybe like fragile, and you have to be like extra sensitive with the trigger, which again feels good. But then you might grab onto like this other like thing, I'm not even sure how to describe it, like a thing to grab onto, and it's like it sort of like goes around sort of like a track, and sort of like click, 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 click. And like the feeling of it in the controllers, it's sort of like I don't really know how to describe it, almost like a zip,
like a train going.
Yeah, like the
rickety old train,
yeah,
kind of thing,
that's
going down
exactly
a track.
Yeah, it's like the feeling of that as it's going in your hands, it just feels really like really, really cool, and like it kind of brings a smile to your face, that sort of like joy that like a good Nintendo game will bring you really. So yeah, like I kind of can't wait to get through and play through the last level, because I've done 3 of the 4 big areas and collected pretty much everything I can so far. But yeah, it's just such a wonderful, wonderful wee game, and like I can't really praise it enough. And to be honest, it's probably the only game that I'm actually really interested in on PlayStation 5 at the minute, because I've got loads of PS4 games to play, so I've been able to like download quite a few of those onto the PS5 anyway and play them. But yeah, Astro's Playroom, I think it's just a perfect sort of like demonstration of what the DualSense is capable of, and I hope we see more of it, even if it's like another Astro game, like a proper platformer in a couple of years' time or something. I'll be well up for it. It's just a great showcase of the controller, and yeah, it really sells you on that DualSense.
Have you passed the controller over to Jacob to say, "Hey, try this. Can you feel that? Can you?" And I'm always interested to see the kids' reactions to these kind of things, because they grow up with it, you know, and they get used to it far easier, and we're kind of surprised by it because it's all new.
So what you're asking is, have I passed over the controller of my brand new £450 system to my 4-year-old? Not yet, but my wife has tried it as well, and like she was going, "Oh, that's really cool." And she's not really into games as such, like, but yeah, she was sort of going, "Yeah, that's cool." And like she didn't mind that I was keeping the system despite the costs. So, yeah, all good.
Excellent.
Haptic feedback has worked its charm.
At last.
Cool, very cool. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.